Clever Cutter is advertised as a 2-in-1 knife cutting board that operates like a pair of scissors. But does it really work as advertised? That's what I'm going to try to find out in my review of Clever Cutter. It's almost 10 o'clock at night. Made a Target run. I got my Clever Cutter. And actually I found some things to cut up. Some carrots, celery, a potato, and some cheese all here. So tomorrow is my big test of Clever Cutter. We'll see how it works. I've got my Clever Cutter. I've got all this food here. We're going to put it to the test and see if it can actually perform as well as the advertising. All right, so I got my Clever Cutter here. I've got my full spread of food I'm going to test out, and we're going to get started with a demonstration of how the Clever Cutter advertising matches up against reality. First up, our carrots. Got my carrot and my Clever Cutter. Let's see how it goes. Well, I'm going to say that one actually goes pretty well. It seems sharp, and the pieces, there's not a lot of effort in my hand that required to cut the carrot. I like how well it cuts the carrot. Now we're going to move over to the celery, which they also advertised. I don't know if I can go as fast as the guy in the commercial. Well, maybe I can. That works pretty well too. Now the advertising also showed a carrot and celery together, so we're going to try that. Gotta watch my fingers there. So far, that's actually pretty good. No problem cutting those. So the next thing it advertised were tomatoes. And so I picked out a very soft tomato and a very hard tomato because I have a feeling that it's going to cut the hard tomato pretty easily. Not sure about the soft tomato, so I wanted to get one of each to kind of give you an idea of how the two of those work. So let's start off with the hard tomato, which I'm guessing will be a lot easier. Let's see, the skin doesn't really cut that well. Let's see if I get... Well, I'm having a problem with the skin here. That's not so great. Okay, I guess if you do a faster snapping motion at the end, it might help. The instructions do say that to use a snapping motion at the end. I'm trying to do that, but I'm not completely getting that last piece of skin to come off, so I'm going to keep trying that technique a little bit. I guess if I do a really fast snap at the end, it does kind of get the skin going. So it's not bad. That's the hard tomato. Now let's try the soft tomato. I'll try the same kind of snapping technique and see how that goes. Yay. Okay, so that snapping technique they suggest does seem to work on the tomatoes. If you go slowly, as I did in the beginning, the bottom piece of skin seems to hang on. That fast snap at the end definitely does seem to be the trick for tomatoes. All right, there's some other items they showed in the advertising that I think might be a little more challenging. One, I have a kind of a large apple. It says it's large enough for an apple, but how large of an apple? Let's see on this large green apple. I mean, it doesn't fit the entire apple. This is a very large apple, but what it does cut, it cuts pretty well. Well, probably. I mean, I think that that's a pretty good job to cut these slices like that. I don't have a problem with that. Now next up we have a raw potato, which is going to be even harder than that apple I just tried. So let's see how that goes. Actually, with this one, I don't even really have to do that snap at the end because it's so firm that it seems like it just comes right out. This is actually going quite well. Yeah, I think the potato definitely worked well. I mean, look at that. That took me a few seconds. It cut through them pretty easily. All right, for the last three things I'm going to do, these are all kind of texture related. I have a block of cheese, and I have bread, and I have chicken breast. So while the fruits and vegetables are all kind of straightforward, let's see how these textures do with the Clever Cutter. All right, so with the bread, the first time I tried it, I was having a problem with the bread not cutting through. As it turns out, this had lifted up a little bit and was stopping the Clever Cutter from closing all the way. I didn't realize that. So if you have a problem with it not cutting all the way through, make sure that's not happening, because it can happen when your hands move it up like that. So my first attempt at the bread, it wasn't cutting through, but I think that might have been the problem. So let's try it again now that I've remedied that. Well, I mean, the problem is I don't think you're going to want to eat a piece of bread like that. That's not really the kind of bread I usually eat with my spaghetti. It did cut it. The second piece I'm having a hard time with. It's smashing it down. Let me try this other side here. Let me get rid of that. That's from a previous test. I mean, it's cutting through it, but I don't think most people want to eat their bread that looks like that. So, does it cut through bread? Yes, but do you want bread like that? Probably not. All right, let's try the cheese here. Aha, success. It is working on the cheese. Once again, as with the bread, my hands had inadvertently pushed this upward the first time I tried the cheese, and I didn't realize it wasn't closing all the way, because this will happen. So if you're having problems with it cutting all the way through, make sure that's not the case. Because the first time I cut cheese, I was getting this. When I've remedied that, then we get this. Okay, it is cutting this well. So the chicken is doing pretty well. All right, chicken cut nicely. All right, so in my final evaluation, I think the Clever Cutter works really well on most things. On the carrots, the celery, tomatoes, apples, potatoes, all work good. The chicken, it worked well. The cheese, the apple, this potato again. The cheese and the apple worked well on. Bread, I'm not too impressed by, because even when it does work, it smashes it all the way down and you get that. The only problem I encountered is that this safety would occasionally do that, which would prevent it from closing all the way, and I was getting incomplete cuts. Other than that, it's a pretty good tool. I didn't think that I had to squeeze real hard, even on some of the harder items, so I think that most people should have no problem using the Clever Cutter successfully. I think it works.